going to start with the paleontological evidence for evolution. Last time we have seen morphological evidence, then anatomical evidence and vestigial organs. Now in paleontological evidence means paleontology is a branch of science which deals with the study of fossils. So you know fossils we have studied already, that is large number of plants and animals, they get buried due to the disasters like volcanoes, earthquake, floods, and their remnants and impression of these organisms, they remain preserved underground. Their remnants, they remain preserved underground. These are known as fossils. So study of fossil is also the important evidence for evolution. So they have shown you picture 1.8, in which after the excavation of land, what we observe that they have shown, that is in the deepest layer of the soil, they observe the fossils of invertebrates, which is known as Paleozoic era. Above that they observe the fossils of reptiles, which is a Mesozoic era, which is a middle one, while the superficial layers they have the fossils of aves, mammals, that is the vertebrates, which is a Cenozoic era. So from this figure it is clear that in the deepest layer there were the fossils of invertebrate, and in superficial layer there were the fossils of vertebrates. That means we can have conclusion from that vertebrates have been evolved from invertebrates. That is one thing. Now in addition we can have the method of carbon dating, which is also one of the evidence for evolution. So what is carbon dating? Carbon dating is a method of knowing the age of fossils or determining the age of fossils. So how can we know the age of fossil? That is, in the plant or animal body, whenever they are in the living condition, carbon is definitely present. In the carbon isotopes are C12 and C14, and after the death of these animals and plant, the consumption of carbon stops definitely. Now in carbon 12 and carbon 14, carbon 14 is a radioactive one, and thus it undergoes decaying process, while carbon 12 is not radioactive, therefore it remains as it is. So if we observe the dead bodies of plants and animals, the ratio of carbon 14 and carbon 12, it changes continuously. That is one of the observation, and thus we can calculate the time passed since the death of plants and animals, which can be calculated by measuring the radioactivity of C14 and the ratio of C14 to C12 present in their body. So this is nothing but the carbon dating. Definitely in the dead body C14 proportion will go on reducing, and therefore the ratio of C14 to C12 will be reduced. So from that ratio we can determine the age or the time passed after their death. So that is nothing but the carbon dating method, which is used in paleontology as well as anthropology in determining the age of fossils and manuscripts. Once the age of fossil is determined, we can easily deduce the information about the erstwhile organisms, and the total conclusion from this is the vertebrates are evolved from invertebrates. And this carbon dating method was discovered by Willard Libby, and for that he got the Nobel Prize, and this method is published in the journal Radiocarbon. Now we are going to see the fifth point, that is the connecting links. That is, some plants and animals, they show morphological character by which they can be related to two different groups. Some animals and plants, they show some morphological characters by which they can be related to two different groups. Hence they are known as connecting links. So they have shown you the figure of peripatus, duck-billed platypus and lungfish as a connecting links. So why peripatus is called a connecting link? First, the morphological observation of peripatus is it has a thin cuticle, it has parapodia for locomotion, and Another thing, that is it has a segmented body. So all these characters are similar to the phylum Annelida from invertebrate, while the another characteristic, that is open circulatory system and tracheal respiration, are the characteristics which are similar to the Arthropoda phylum, which is also invertebrate. So it is considered to be connecting link. That means it is showing both these morphological characters similar to both these phylum or both these groups. One is Annelida, another is Arthropoda. Therefore, it is a connecting link between Annelida and Arthropoda. If we observe the duck-billed platypus, it is a connecting link between reptiles and mammals, because like reptiles it lays the eggs, while like mammals it has mammary glands and hairs, and therefore it is considered to be the connecting link between duck-billed platypus. Now lungfish, though it is a fish, actually expected is that it should respire with the help of gills, but it has a respiratory organ as a lungs. Thus from all these examples we can conclude that the mammals are evolved from reptiles and amphibians from the fishes. So that is the second thing you have to remember about the evidence as for evolution. Then they have shown you the picture of embryos of different stages of vertebrates. So embryology is a branch of science which deals with the study of development of organism from embryos. That is embryology. So if we observe the embryos in the initial stages of the vertebrates, they are showing extreme similarities, but the similarity decreases gradually. So similarities in the initial stages indicate that the common origin of all organisms is same. So that is the embryological evidence. So we have seen the 6 evidences regarding evolution. First is morphological, second is anatomical, third point we have seen the vestigial organ, then paleontological evidence. All these are very easy to write. Then connecting links and embryological evidence. Now the important question which is always asked in exam is about the Darwin's theory of natural selection. So first thing, that is Charles Darwin, his theory first was based on observation. That means he has collected innumerable species of plants and animals, and depending upon the observations of these specimens, he published the theory which is known as, or which preaches the survival of fittest. And he had published a book titled Origin of Species. So that is the introductory part. Actually what the theory states is all the organisms, they reproduce prolifically. Prolific means fertile or reproducing one. So all organisms reproduce prolifically, and all the organisms, they compete with each other in a life-threatening manner. In the competition, only those organisms sustain or survive which shows the modification essential for winning the competitions. However, the natural selection also plays important role in this. That is, nature selects those organisms which are having characteristic fit to live, while other perish, and whichever the organisms they are sustained or which are survived, again they have the process of reproduction and they produce the new species which are having their own specific characters. So that is the Darwin's natural theory of selection, which is widely accepted for long duration. Now whenever you are writing this answer, you should use all the words which are given in the book only. Don't use your own words, though the meaning you are getting from that. You should have the word prolifically, competition, life-threatening manner. All these are very important words. Though this Darwin theory was accepted all over the world, there are some objection in that. First objection, that is natural selection is not only the factor which is responsible for evolution. Secondly, Darwin has not mentioned any explanation about the useful and useless modification, which are useless, which are useful, that it was not mentioned by Darwin. That is the second objection. And third, there is not any explanation about slow changes and abrupt changes. Though all these three objections were there in the Darwin's theory, his work on evolution has been a milestone.